Good afternoon, everyone. Grant Cohn, Coach Noah Johnston. He's at work. I'm at work. We're going to be talking about the Niners offseason, like if it could get worse, how they could possibly make it worse. But first, there is some news we need to talk about. I mean, it's Deebo said this a while ago, but he's sticking to it. I think it's interesting. He refuses to work out in California at all this offseason with Trey Lance, which is interesting because it's where Trey Lance is, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, pretty much all the wide receivers and Trey Lance working out in California, and Deebo Samuel refuses. I think this was he even said this like during the season. Matt Mayoko had an interview with him. He was like, "So you gonna be working out with Trey in California this offseason?" And Deebo was like, "No." So first of all, wow, is California that bad? Second of all, does this show that Deebo Samuel is I mean, I guess we already know he's 100% set on getting out of here. And two, like, does this sort of reveal like why he wants to leave or how long?
Well, didn't he say? And I didn't watch, but I watched something where they were talking about it. Didn't he say like if he wants to come to Florida, that's where I work out. He can come to Florida and we'll do it there. But he didn't say I'm not working out with Trey. He just didn't want to. It seemed like he didn't want to go to California to do it.
Yeah.
Which is a little like I know Deebo hasn't gotten his big payday yet, but and I know plane flights are expensive now. I know for my own travel, but he is making millions of dollars, so like it wouldn't be that much for him to take a weekend, go out there, work out. Hey, work that out. Like you don't have to stay in California the entire summer, but you can periodically jump out to California, do your workout, whatever, and then fly back home. It doesn't seem like it's too much to ask. So I think there is something to that because you'd think that if you're working in a new quarterback, you would want to try to work something out, right? Like not just, hey, fly to me, or like, how about I'll fly to you sometimes, and then if you want to work down here, like come down here, or like work out something like that.
Maybe he doesn't want to work out with. Maybe he said this because he just has no intention of playing for the 49ers anymore. Maybe he's had no intention of re-signing with them for a while. Maybe he doesn't like them as an organization. Maybe he doesn't want to get paid in California. I mean, if money means that much to him, you're going to make less in California. There's more taxes here. Maybe it's not about wanting to be closer to home. It's about wanting to play in a state that's tax-free. I mean, there could be any number of things here. But that's where my mind goes.
I feel like all of this can be solved with money, though. I mean, like if California's tax issues are an issue, then if I just pay you more money, that would compensate for the taxes, right? Like you would just have to pay them more than say Florida. I'm not familiar with exact tax rates or whatever, but you just have to pay them more to compensate. If you're worried about running the football, I'm sure there's a number in his mind that he would probably carry the ball for. I don't know what that number is, but I'm sure there's. I mean, we're talking about a sport. If you're talking about playing running back is going to take years off of my longevity of my career or my health or whatever. Like football in itself does that, like right. So you're already playing a sport that does that. So you're essentially telling me you're willing to take money for a physical pounding.
It's a bad look, though, isn't it, to say he can come to me? I'm not going there, but he's welcome to come to me. Like, really?
Yeah,
I
don't love it.
All the wide receivers are going to him. So what you're saying is everyone can come to you? Like, it's one thing to be like, man, like to do the Magic Johnson, like, I'm not going to be here. I don't know what you're talking about. But to say like, yeah, they're welcome to come to Miami. See, to me, leads credence to him either being a diva or not wanting to play with Trey Lance. I mean, a lot of people are going to be like, boom, that's diva behavior. Or boom, he wants to play with Jimmy Garoppolo. And now you see like him and Jimmy are close. Jimmy just came out and said, pay Deebo his money. He deserves it. Deebo is like my guy. I'm just saying, I mean, Trey Lance is 5 years younger than Deebo Samuel. I mean, I have no idea. But these questions are out there. You don't know.
I think Deebo and Lance are probably good. If anything, I think it's probably like it's alluded to, which is maybe I don't want to say diva, but maybe he might have a little bit of that personality in him. And the other part of it too is might be part of his answer might have been different had he already had his extension. like, or if he had already paid, his answer might have been different. Or if this was last season, and let's just say last season the 49ers shipped Jimmy Garoppolo out, and the 49ers said, "Hey, Trey Lance is the starting quarterback," he might have had a different idea about it then. But circumstances are what they are. So the contract might have played, or lack of contract might have played into that answer, knowing he was going to have to go through this process. Why am I going to go out of my way to start working out with the 49ers quarterback or potential quarterback to be when I don't even have my contract yet? Yeah.
We've never seen an NFL player, I mean, not that I can remember, get drafted to a team and sort of like say everything, do everything right, do everything the coach has asked, and then right when it's time to get the extension, be like, psych, I don't even want to be here. You guys drafted me. Never wanted to be here. And like, I think there's some theories that's what's going on right now. That not that he wants to go into South Carolina in particular, that he just doesn't want to be here for whatever reason. He's just not a fan of the South Bay, the organization, the coast, the state. Who knows? And you know what? I feel like that's like an NBA thing, right? Like, I'm a star. I got drafted to the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't want to be here. It's not a big market. I'll do the right thing, but eventually I'm going to the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of thing you see all the time in the NBA because that's the way the league works, and those stars make big bucks. Well, Deebo's about to make big bucks. I think we might be in a new era here where players are like, yeah, okay, I got drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Cleveland Browns, but like when I can get out of here, I'm out. I'm out.
Is Deebo gonna pull a James Harden and come in at like 250 if they just didn't trade him?
I don't think about like the Niners being that kind of place, but like he never saw Jerry Rice play. He has no attachment to the California, and I feel like most people, if you're not from California, you're not juiced to move to San Jose and spend like the most you've ever spent on rent or real estate or all of it. Yeah, it's not fun unless you're just have an emotional attachment because you grew up out here. So I don't know.
I'm not close to the situation. I personally just think he wants his money no matter where he gets it from. Like, I think he just wants his money.
But like, if you want your money, right? A California team has to pay you more than a Florida team.
Yeah.
If you want your money, if that's what it's about, then California has to pay a lot. 13% more? Was it something like that?
Mean, I know I've been in a position where I've looked nationally for jobs, and when I've looked nationally for jobs, I look at the cost of living and all of that in each state. Like that matters, right? So I don't know why it wouldn't matter to an NFL player. I mean, money's money, right?
I mean, none of these players live out here in California. Kittle lives in Nashville. Do you think he would force his way onto the Titans if he could, if he had that kind of, I don't know, make his life a lot easier? Anyway, let's move on because this is kind of related. Will the 49ers botch the Nick Bosa extension too? I think they could. What do you think?
They could. I don't think I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there just because
You're going to give the 49ers the benefit of the doubt on this? That's rich.
It would be so bad if they did this one too. I think, I don't know, you've talked about it before. They have a certain feeling towards Nick Bosa. I think they do put a premium on defensive ends. So I think they probably would be willing to, to really break that bank for him too. But is it out of the realm of possibility? No.
Definitely. Well, here's the way I look at it. Let me throw a scenario at you. Similar to Deebo, Nick Bosa sees what's going on around here. He's not a big fan of California anyway, although Joey Bosa's made it work down in Southern California. The Chargers are taking care of him, but we know he's not a big fan of Northern California. Nick Bosa, they're different, Northern California, Southern California. He's not a big fan of Northern California to begin with. Didn't choose to come here, got drafted. Don't even know if this team's going to be good next year. What if he says, you know what? Respectfully, I don't want to be here anymore. I was here for 4 years. I gave you a lot, but you're the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm out. I want to go play for the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, could he do what Deebo's doing?
He could.
Good.
I don't think he will. I think, especially if they trade Deebo, they're going to have a lot of
Money.
Well, if they get rid of if they get rid of Jimmy
Yeah.
they're going to have a lot of cap room, so they could
That's a
pretty
good
much
point.
give really break Bosa off. I think he likes where he is. I mean, I can't speak for him. I don't really know. So, but I do think Bosa will handle it differently. I don't know that he's going to be on Twitter making comments, deleting them, and I think it'll be very behind the scenes. I think if things get ugly, his agent could leak things like that. But I don't know how much Bosa himself will be talking.
Yeah.
But
I just wonder about like what's happening to this team right now. When Deebo says I'm out and you trade away someone like Jimmy, who everyone likes for whatever reason, is this going to be like a full-on rebuild? Are people going to start bailing? I mean, this happened at the end of the Harbaugh era. People just were like, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm leaving. Goodbye. I don't want to do this anymore. If Deebo goes, I mean, does Trent Williams say, I don't want to be here anymore? I mean, he said he only wanted to play for a contender. That's why he signed with the Niners. He's 34 years old. Like, what's going to happen to the big stars in this team if one of the biggest stars in the team just says, this organization isn't up to my level. I'm out. That's crazy.
It is crazy, but
they better watch out. This could happen.
Things can change very rapidly in the NFL, right? Like, look how quickly they've gone in the negative. They could go quickly go in the positive. Like, there's some moves that maybe aren't available right this moment that could possibly be available, especially as the draft is coming up, that might be available for the Niners to make. There could be some moves this summer. I don't think that this necessarily puts, if Deebo is gone, and makes the Niners like a trash team or anything. I think they're still good. I mean, it's still
good.
They've got an upgrade at quarterback. At least I believe so.
Tobin says, getting pretty tired of Deebo. Let's send him to the Lions and let him figure it out. He doesn't get to choose where he goes. I understand how you feel.
He's going to choose where he goes because they're going to have to work out. It's not going to be like, oh, you send him there, and because the team that trades for him is not going to be in a position where they're going to have to do the same thing that's going on now. They're going to negotiate the contract first,
right?
Then,
correct.
So yeah, you can't ship him off to the Lions. Like, yeah, go play here.
Good point. Richie says if Deebo gets traded at draft, is the next shoe to drop Trent Williams demanding a trade? He said on I Am an Athlete he only wants to play for a contender.
Bless you.
Thanks. I wonder.
I don't think so. I still think that they're going to be, if they move Deebo, I still think they'll be.
Maybe that's why the Niners are so reluctant to move Deebo, because they feel it would have like this kind of a domino effect on their team. Deebo's out.
Like, I do know that Trent and him are close, right? Like they're very close. So that could play a role, but I think I still think they're a container if they move him.
I don't. We'll see. Lil Lord Stewie says, Grant, am I still in the hot seat? No, of course not, Lil Lord Stewie. People are already burning Deebo jersey. I'm keeping mine. It's the 75 logo. And how long was it until the whole Collins stuff blew up? Cap coming back 2022. What if the organization does that? They trade Deebo.
I don't think the Niners can't. The Niners are like the one team that can't take Cap because it would be, for me, in my opinion, it would be too much of a distraction. Not because of the kneeling thing, because he's been the quarterback here before on a Super Bowl team. I don't think that would be ideal.
Particularly if you have Jimmy and Kaepernick on the same team, wouldn't they cancel each other out?
Yeah. I mean, you could, but I'm talking about with Trey Lance. Like, we're talking about, you don't, like, Jimmy can't be, like, Cap can't be here, not for the same reason, but it's along this, like, you don't want that. It's not good for it wouldn't be good for Trey Lance for that to be there behind. Well, there's a quarterback that led us to a Super Bowl before, like, sitting behind him. Like, I don't know if that's ideal. I think
they have Jeff Garcia waiting there as well, and Steve Young, just all of them. No pressure, Trey.
Yeah.
All right. Give the Niners off season a grade so far.
I think at best, I think a D.
Yeah. At best a D, like a mercy D. Like, look, I don't want to give you the F because then when I have to, by
I'll
rule,
give them I'm giving them the D because they upgraded that position where we thought they needed, corner. It's so they
they got Ward. They got Travarius Ward, Orrin Burks. They got Orrin Burks.
yeah. Upgraded special teams,
no doubt. George Odom. I mean, no, I didn't know who he was before they signed him per se, but he was an all-pro special teamer, so that's on me.
Yeah.
D plus. No, it's really bad. I mean, you could give them like mercy points and stuff, but like the main objectives they had to do for the semester was, trade Jimmy, fail. Extend Deebo, fail. Extend Bosa, no word. So yeah, I mean, they can say they did other stuff that was good, but it's like the three big ones you haven't done. So we can give you a fail, and an incomplete, and some bonus points along the way that'll bring you up from an F to an F plus. Did you ever get an F plus in school? Can you give an F plus? It's so backhanded, right? Like, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it was like top 5, bottom 5. F plus. I'm gonna give him an F plus. I think they get an F. I think Travarius Ward's a plus. It's been so bad. No, Brian Greasy. They got Brian. Excuse me. B minus.
Brian Greasy.
I don't know. How could they salvage this? They trade Jimmy Garoppolo for 2 first-round picks. No, I don't. Are both Deebo and Jimmy going to be on the team in training camp? Are the Niners going to be stubborn on both? Because that's how they do business.
I think that it'd be hilarious, right? You'd have a guy making $27 million. You'd have a guy making $27 million that you really don't want to be there. Then a guy that doesn't want to be there that wants $25 million.
Right. It's like, well, sorry, we can't figure it out. It's too complicated for us. I think it would be great because again, it's the same exact situation. You have a player you want to trade or you need to trade. And you're not going to because you're waiting for too much in return. Nice. Until all of his value goes away and your team gets worse. You're doing it again because you didn't learn anything from the Jimmy situation. The Niners really think you just hold on forever. Doesn't matter. Just hold on.
And I think the reports are that they're asking for a king's ransom for Deebo.
There you go. Just like that. They're asking for a king's ransom for Jimmy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. And they do it after basically telling the whole world like why they don't think they're that good. Oh, Deebo, he's more of a running back and he drops the ball.
But
if 2 first-round picks.
If I was Deebo's agent and I would, if I got wind that the 49ers were, let's just say, asking for 2 firsts, right, for me, for my client, I would turn around and say to the 49ers, so you're asking for 2 firsts. That was more than Devontae and Tyreek, who were the best receiver in the league. So you should pay my client as the best receiver in the league.
Exactly. So what's the deal here? Okay.
Deebo's not on their level when they have to pay him, but when you have to trade for him, oh yeah, like 3 first-round picks.
But again, Deebo is now making it seem like, look, he's like, I never wanted to play here. Something happened, but I don't want to be in this team. They never even made me an offer. Maybe the reason he doesn't want to play here is because they never made him an offer. But his thing is like, I don't want to play here. Don't make me an offer. I'm out. But that's pretty much what we know from his side right now, right? Why?
I kind of tend to believe that, right? Because with Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster, how could they really have made him an offer? Like, they couldn't have officially made him an offer because they can't pay it because Jimmy Garoppolo's on the team. So they really couldn't officially make him an offer.
Yeah.
I did read somewhere that supposedly the offer was 19 million.
Oh, nice. It's like a big slap in the face. That's cool. I appreciate it.
They're like, oh, your number's 19? How about a 19 million? How's that so? 19 problems, 19 million. Like,
terrible, man. One Fast Yemi says, I think Deebo is going to the Jaguars. Call me crazy, but Jaguars are reported wanting to trade up. They have the first pick, right? Maybe the Niners get the number one pick in the draft for Deebo.
Like, yeah, you can't get in here. You can't get in here earlier than that. Maybe they want Trey Lance. Like, that's trade. Like,
why so serious? 23 says Rams praying Deebo leaves. Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, yeah, I think
it would be great news for them. Brian Bunny says, you seen the video allegedly of a phone conversation between Deebo and AJ Brown, not Green. I didn't realize there's two different AJs with color last names. AJ Green, AJ Brown on the back end of a Pat McAfee vid with Rap Sheet originally from Twitter. Yeah, I saw it. They're talking about, it's more about Brown than Deebo, though. Deebo just says they never made me an offer, which is interesting. Ninth Wonder Comics says, I keep saying it, John and Kyle, horrible poker players, show their hands and act like they got the royal flush. Pretty much. I like that. That's a good analogy. David Velez says, of course, the offseason could get worse. Multiple players may not re-sign to avoid a rebuild. Parag could not get fired for his utter incompetence. I like that. That's a good point. That's a phenomenal point that you just made. Can I just say? All right, moving on. Hold on. There's another one. Little Lord Stewie says, what was Rice trade with the Raiders? Was it even? What picks are worth now? Like, cost be cheap for players, but did draft? Dude, I was a long time ago, man.
Rice was also on the tail end of his career when that trade was made.
You got to look that up on Wikipedia, man. I'm sorry. JC says, who would you fire? Jimmy still here, Deebo leaving, Kyle Shanahan the genius, John Lynch, Parag Marathe. My answer is fire John Lynch, trade Kyle Shanahan for 4 firsts, promote D'Amico head coach, and Lynn OC. Now you're talking. I love it, man.
I think the problem
you're going to keep Parag, though? That's whack.
For me, I think the problem is it's like not the Deebo situation in itself or the Jimmy Garoppolo. It's that it seems like they're botching two things. They don't seem to have by not being able to do, they're not reading the tea leaves of the league properly, and they're not being decisive with their moves. Like, if you felt like, if what they seem to feel like, okay, Deebo Samuel value to us is at a running back and at a wide receiver. We can't pay him $30-25 million a year because we feel like that's gonna, because if he's playing running back, he's gonna get hurt and all that. Then and you know what he's gonna ask for because that's where the league is trending, right? As soon as those contracts came up, then make a decisive move, trade him.
Agree. HR says Niners, like Cowboys and Lakers, are rudderless organizations who survive off legacy and brand, not competent front offices ownership. Yeah, kind of like the Yankees too. Yeah, it's pretty sad. That's why I'm always like outraged and stuff, and I'm trying to like be hard on the Niners, and fans are like, "Why are you so mean on them all the time?" Because of this. Don't you see what they're doing? They're just living off the legacy of the past generation and printing money. Because the fans are so faithful. Never-ending faith. All right. So on this show, I've talked about like picks the Niners could get for Deebo Samuel. Once you get the pick, you got to draft a wide receiver. You got to replace him if you trade him. So what does all of this maneuvering get the 49ers? Like, who is the best wide receiver they could get to replace him, either in the draft or in the league right now?
Well, to me, if this happened, what I would probably do, I would do is draft a wide receiver and then acquire a veteran via some sort of trade. I think that trade might ultimately have to occur during the season, akin to the Emmanuel Sanders. Like, they might have to like try to tread water like until the middle of the season when some team starts deciding that they're a seller and they might need to sell off some assets. A guy I don't think they'll be able to get like Justin Jefferson, but a guy in the same team that they might be able to get is Thielen. He's not the physical freak, but he's a good route runner. He's got excellent hands, and he gets open. I don't know if you remember when they played the Vikings. Didn't he have like 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah. And I think he would be a nice compliment to Ayuk. I think he's a guy that could be available, depending on where the Vikings see themselves, especially if they don't start off the year so hot. You're looking at guys that are probably later in their careers. or their contract will be up the next year. It's possible maybe they could work out something with the Commanders to get Terry McLaurin, but Rivera needs to win now, and I don't know that he would make that move because McLaurin's gonna help him win. So I don't know that they would move McLaurin like that. That situation would have to take like a Deebo Samuel type turn for McLaurin to be available. Maybe the other situation I would think of, maybe one of those, the Bengals have 3 really good receivers. They're going to have to pay. I think Chase obviously getting paid. He's got some years before he gets paid. I think Higgins just got paid, but Boyd I think is due in a year or so. I think Boyd is the one that's here. So maybe if you offered enough to the Bengals, they would give you one of them.
Yeah, but the Niners aren't going to trade Deebo for another player.
No, I'm not sorry, guys. I'm going to clarify. I wouldn't say trade Deebo for that player. Trade Deebo for whatever haul you're going to get, then use some of those assets to acquire a veteran player, and then also draft. I mean, the other point too is if you do wait like in the season, like you're one of those veteran receivers is you're not going to have to pay like a first round pick for him. Didn't the Niners paid third for Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, while it's what I would do, I would definitely like the Niners to bring in someone like Terry McLaurin or a vet, someone who's, worth some money. They're not going to do that. They're going cheap. They can say whatever they want to do. They can say whatever they want. They're going cheap here. So what they're going to do, what I think they're going to do, is trade Deebo for draft picks and spend the highest draft pick on a wide receiver. And that's what I'm looking at, is like which wide receiver they're going to draft to replace him. And I think what's crazy or funny or ironic, I don't know how Niner fans will feel about this, but I think I know what they're going to do. I think they're trying to get Jameson Williams from Alabama, the guy who tore his ACL a few months ago. He's really good, right? He's super explosive. Everyone says if there's one special wide receiver in this draft, it's him. The Niners are going to get the dude with the torn ACL. And maybe it'll work out, but I guarantee you, I can't guarantee it, but it just, everything in all my spider senses are telling me they're going to do that. So how do you feel about Jameson Williams replacing?
I like him, but they can't do that because
they're going to do that. They're going to do that. They're going to do that. I bet you.
We've talked about this before about the whole injured players and getting away from injured players. Like they have to get away. Like they have to make an concerted effort to get away from those players and get those guys off the roster.
I think it's a good idea. Jameson Williams, explosive.
I like him. I wouldn't do it for them, and where
they're punting 2022 anyway. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying they will.
No, I know. I understand.
Am I just cynical? Maybe.
Yeah,
Jameson Williams, it's gonna happen.
I could see them do it. I could see them doing that. The other part, it's hard for me to say. Like, I kind of tend to think that they're probably going to get their value is going to be something closer to like the Tyreek trade, or I don't know if they're going to get a first.
Well,
if it's going to be at first, it's going to be late.
Yeah, it could be. Henry says trade Deebo to the Falcons, add the second round pick and Jimmy G, and in return get wide receiver Ridley, the Falcons first and second. The Falcons have the 8th pick in the draft. They're not going to trade that for Deebo and Jimmy. Henry.
No.
That's a very high pick. I feel you though.
Plus, the Niners wouldn't trade for Calvin Ridley because it's not going to help them next year, right? If they're going to trade for Calvin Ridley, it'll be when he's available to play.
Post Oak says, I'm a Deebo fan. If he leaves, he leaves. Can't be mad at him. Pay the man his money because he deserves it. Agree. Everyone was cheering for him when he was making big plays and scoring TDs. Now you hating on him. Agree.
No, so right. I'm not mad at him for him asking all that money. Good.
Yeah, it's the way the league's going now. Santiago Esquino says, got to respect Kyle and John for always making draft season interesting. Yeah, we thought this was going to be dry without a first-round pick. Forget about it. Yeah, haircut. Scotty says, any chance SF can flip Deebo for NYJ's 4th and 10th? I don't think they'll get either pick. Not even one of them.
If they got those, like one of those picks from the Jets, I would be floored.
Yeah, me too. The Ramelia Sports Report says McVay and Snead chilling at the Rams' new state-of-the-art draft day house, watching Kyle and Lynch's Niners in turmoil. Classic Honey Badger soon. The Niners front office looks like a dumpster fire this offseason. It's a bad look. All right, last topic.
Okay.
Give me the under the radar critical position the 49ers haven't addressed. I know what I'm going with.
I think it's center because to me, I have a feeling Alex Mack is going to retire. It's just.
Well, now that Deebo's leaving, I think if they trade Deebo before the draft, do you think Alex Mack's like, all right, I'm good. Thanks. No. It's an 11 coming up. I'm not playing at 37.
I think he kind of already. I think maybe he's already more or less made his decision. They just haven't announced it yet.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, we've seen this play out before. Like the 49ers offense does not operate very well when their center position is not taken care of.
Yeah.
And this, like Deebo can't. Even if Deebo's here, he's not gonna be able to run inside without a center that can actually play center. They're not going to be able to throw the ball without a center that can set the protections and protect inside. So for me, it's a very critical position, and if that's not handled, that's going to be a big deal. So for me, like we're all here talking about Deebo, but I think the Mac issue and what they're going to do if he does retire, which I think he will, it's a big issue. And
that's a good one. I have a different one. I think that's a really good answer. I'm going to say running back, because if you look at it like, let's say Deebo leaves, and he probably will, the Niners might be able to replace what he does as a receiver. Ayuk's really good. He'll get more targets. New quarterback who will use him. He'll get a wide receiver in round one, most likely. Jameson Williams, someone. So they can sort of maybe replace a lot of what Deebo Samuel does as a wide receiver. They can't replace what he does as a running back. And the whole reason that their season flipped when he went to running back was because they needed a replacement for Mostert. They need that explosive outside rusher. They don't have it. When they have it, they win. So now Mostert's gone. If Deebo's gone too, they got to replace that player because it's not Mitchell. It's not Sermon. It's not Wilson. So they might be able to get that player in round 6, but they got to find that player, whoever it is.
Or if you do move Deebo, you could potentially scour the league and try to get somebody off of somebody's roster. I don't know, whoever you let. You're gonna have cap, or you should have. Well, if they do move Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, they could theoretically keep a $25 million backup quarterback in theory, right? Like
that's always good. It's always what you want to do. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Okay, so center makes sense because 2020, I think a lot of what happened that year, everyone blames Nick Mullins, but they never had a starting center that year. And they had big time pass protection issues. They had issues in everything. So it's pretty foundational.
Absolutely. I think on a lot of levels, sports, I know like on a high school level, if I see a terrible center, I'm going to put a nose right over him and make him
wear him out.
Yeah. Wear him out or crap his pants and fumble,
That's true. Yeah, mind games.
I don't think guys on NFL are doing that, but it's the same idea. Like your offensive line all starts from the center out.
That's true.
And I remember watching in 2020 and watching their protection issues. I know you were bringing them up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were mental issues, things that a center that knows what he's doing can solve by setting the correct protection.
I love it. I just want to say though, and like running back never gets any credit in today's NFL. The scheme gets credit, the offensive line gets credit, but the running back, they're a dime a dozen. Fine. Maybe they are. Maybe you can find them late in the draft, whatever. When you get one and he's really good, it changes everything. When the Niners went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Mostert was hot. I mean, he wasn't starting, but he was giving them huge plays. He gave them 10, 12 carries a game. He was giving them huge plays and touchdowns. Just like Deebo last year. When they have that particular player in their backfield, they don't even have to give him the ball a lot. He's like the backup running back. He's the change of pace guy, and he's explosive. And when he's good, the Niners win. So if Kyle, like you can find these running backs. Bobby Turner, find him. You need him. And if Deebo couldn't have done this last year, you would have missed the playoffs. So that's a big one. I'm not saying they have to draft a running back in round 2. I'm not. But whoever the hell they draft has to be super explosive.
If they do trade Deebo, I think they could afford to spend a higher pick on a running back, probably, if depending on what the return is. But more than likely they could afford to do that. I think I was thinking about that as well. Like they have to replace Deebo's explosiveness running the football, and they might be able to do it in, like I said, they could maybe trade for. I know people were out there bring up like trade for Saquon Barkley. Do it, I don't know what his cap hit is. It's off the top of my head, and that wouldn't necessarily be ideal if you have to pay him like a monster contract. But if he was like at the end. If he had like 2 years left on a contract, and by the means of the trade, like the Giants would have to eat the majority of the cap or something like that, then that wouldn't necessarily be terrible. I was trying to think of backs around the league where like a relatively younger back you could probably pick up.
I have his name right now, and I know what Kyle's gonna say. Kyle's gonna be like, "We have that guy already. What are you talking about? That's the one offensive player I signed this offseason. Ray. What are you talking about?" Why do you think we signed Ray to do that? All right, dude. If you say so, he runs a 4.53. Okay, and he doesn't play running back. But I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be Ray. They're gonna be like, we're good. We got it. Ray, Ayuk. That's basically Deebo Samuel.
Sermon.
Yeah. Scotty says Jets are so desperate for a high-end wide receiver. They're just so desperate, and you could have just ended it after the E in desperate. I feel bad for Robert Saleh because, like, you only get 2 years on the Jets, really. If you suck for 2 years, it's over. You don't get that third. You don't get the Matt Rule courtesy third year. You don't get that courtesy third. It's over. Over.
The Jets, I don't know. They are looking for a weapon. They might trade for Deebo, but they're also the thing about it too, and maybe it is in their best interest to give one of those picks up for Deebo because this isn't an actually necessarily great draft. Like, so that those picks, the top 10 pick isn't necessarily valuable as.
If I were the Jets, I would trade 2 second-round picks for Jimmy Garoppolo just for his leadership. You can't quantify that. How many picks is Jimmy Garoppolo's leadership worth? At least 2 seconds.
Yeah, Grant. I was thinking about this.
The Jets are missing.
You know how everybody wants to include Jimmy Garoppolo in the trade or whatever. Yeah. I bet you if that happened, they're gonna say, oh, that like the spreadsheet's gonna be like, oh, that's all Jimmy Garoppolo. Like Deebo doesn't really have a lot of value there, so that's what.
It was the Jimmy Garoppolo trade featuring Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
David says Christian McCaffrey is a reasonable approximation of what Deebo does. Christian McCaffrey's played 10 games last. Well, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never really seen anyone do what Deebo does. Marcus Lattimore called him the greatest runner of the ball he's ever seen. Marcus Lattimore.
I will say this. I do still feel like you can place wide receivers. I tweeted this out before because I went back and I looked on Pro Football Reference and I tabulated all the like anyone that got an All-Pro accolade, whether you were a Pro Football Focus accolade, the writers, AP, all of that. So tabulated them, and I looked at what are the percent of first-round picks within the last 5 years that were All-Pro by any means, and it was 39%. The last 5 years, 39% of those people that had All-Pro accolades was 39%. Now, if you want to look at another position, like let's say defensive end was 54%. 54% of defensive ends that got All-Pro accolades were first-round picks. Now, if you wanted to throw edge guys, like outside linebacker edge guys, whatever, into the defensive end mix, that jumps up to 65% were first-round picks. So, and if you think about it, think about the guys that right now that are up for that want contracts. Metcalf, second-round pick. DK, Deebo, second round pick. McLaurin, I think McLaurin was a third. AJ Brown, second. Like these guys can be found in the draft. So I know we all love Deebo and Deebo's great, but you can get him. You can find these guys and probably more so than other positions. I'd have to look. Maybe like I know other positions like guard you find later in the draft, but when you talk about these positions like tackles and defensive ends, like those are the ones where you really got to get in the first round. But wide receiver you can find late. Good one.
Daniel Jr. Middleton says betting odds Deebo signs extension. 1 in 1,000. 1 in 5,000.
They got to offer it to him. In order for him to sign it. I don't know that they're really offering what he wants.
He hasn't got an offer. Scotty says Deebo for New York Jets 4th and draft the sauce. Not going to happen.
No, they're not going to get
your dreams.
No
Giovanni
way.
Miller says, "Do you think we can make the playoffs? Do you think we can make the playoffs without Deebo? I don't think we're contenders without Deebo, but I think we can make the playoffs without him. If Kittle has a great year and Ayuk has a great year and Alex Mack plays and McGlinchey has
there's a couple things that would have to go the Niners' way, I think, but I personally don't think it's a be all end all. But I got to see what happens in the draft. Like, what happens if a team falls into a scenario where they're able to draft a really good receiver where they didn't think that person was going to be available, and they have another receiver on their roster. Now all of a sudden that receiver becomes available in a trade. The Niners can trade for that player. Now maybe they don't have Deebo, but they still have a good receiver.
Angelic Ambition says pick 5 and Saquon for Deebo and 93 thoughts. Never going to happen. Pick 5. It's not going to happen.
No, they're not going to. They're not going to get that.
MB 2020 says they'll trade Deebo for first round pick, get BA help with Lance's buddy Christian Watson. I ain't mad at it. Better for Trey to have that cohesiveness. I think the whole Christian Watson thing is a mistake. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just saying, like, just because they went to the same school, like, I don't do that. I think that's a bad reason. No. Gregory says Deebo lost me with his trade ask. Niners always lowball in the beginning, but you got to keep talking. Did he not see Kittle in Warner negotiations? Bad situation.
I'm not mad at what he's. I think that I could see why he would be insulted if they also offered him $19 million, especially with how they use him. I think some of his actions are a little immature, but I'm not mad at what he's.
I feel that, but at the same time, like I don't think he's doing anything without the blessing of his agent, if not the direction of his agent. So I think what the Niners are going to have to realize is that as wide receivers are the divas of the locker room anyway. Everyone knows that. As they get paid like quarterbacks, they are going to flex their power and their leverage, and you either want to have these players on your team or you don't. So if it's not Deebo, it's going to be someone else, and then it might be Brandon Ayuk next year. Eventually, you're going to have to give a guy a lot of money and treat him like he's the most special person in the world and not lowball him like that. You're going to have to change how you do business eventually.
Well, for someone. You know what really solves this situation really is like get the quarterback right. Because when you get the quarterback right, what happens is you can apply what I was just talking about, which is since receivers, you can find them late, keep drafting them, and you do what like the Steelers and Green Bay do and all these other teams that have quarterbacks is you start drafting these guys, you turn them around, and then you let them walk or you trade them or whatever, and then you just bring up the next guy. Do you know, like, the Steelers have Chase Claypool in, I think, Deontay Johnson, who is another 1,000-yard receiver. They just keep churning him out. Now, they don't have Roethlisberger are there anymore, but they always just keep drafting receivers. Green Bay, I know
the Niners don't have that history, man. They don't have that history. They're A.J. Jenkins, Rashawn Woods. I mean, they've had some wild Dante Pettis. I mean, that's the Niners.
Okay? Right, but that's the Niners, but I'm going to say that wasn't the current iteration of the
same scouting staff.
That wasn't the current iteration of their GM, and so I'm not gonna dock them for their past incompetency at that position. I do think you have to get the quarterback right before you can really start doing that, because the quarterback's going to help all those receivers turn into great receivers.
Henry says Bosa is really the key. We win when Bosa plays in both 2019 and 2021. If Bosa played in 2020, we make the playoffs with Mullins.
I personally, I think he affects how they, but I don't think he's the key. I think.
Couldn't you say Deebo is the key? I mean, he played in 2019 and 2021 when he was hurt. They struggled. I mean, the defense was top 5 in 2020. That's my only thing. Yeah, it would have been better with Bosa, but the defense was good in 2020 The problem was
it was good. I just think that they couldn't. The problem with that was that when they played those elite teams or the teams with elite quarterbacks, they had problems getting pressure. They couldn't just beat like when they played Buffalo and Aaron Rodgers. Those Kerry Hyders Juniors of the world didn't really mean much during those games.
No, that's the end of our show for this week. It's been a long week. I've got like a second job, which is looking for houses, and it's not fun. And I'm exhausted. So I'm going to go take a nap. I recommend it. It's refreshing. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you, Coach. I'll be back when you least expect it. See ya.